Alright, so I've got a little demo ready here. We've got 5 Reapers, five Crushers, and then a bunch of random elites and specials here. Now, before I begin, I want to explain something real quick. Different body parts on these enemies have different armor types. I think everyone knows that. But what you might not know is on top of that, they also have a different range damage modifier. Now, I didn't put any trappers in here, but trappers are a good example, and all their body parts are considered maniac armor type, but their arms and legs have a 0.5 times damage modifier on top of that. Which means that if you were to aim for a body shot on something like a trapper, you might shoot it in the hands and not get the kill, even though a headshot or a chest shot, or like a groin shot would be a one-shot kill. So what the enemies I've put on the left here, I know we can get the one-shot body shot kill, and that's why they're here. I'm going to be demonstrating that. But if I land a hand shot or an arm shot, just be aware that's not going to be necessarily a one-shot kill on all of these. I still recommend aiming for the head on everything. And so I'm just explaining that now in case it happens, so you don't think that our damage output is low. It's just these modifiers can cost you the breakpoints if you go for a body shot. And so that's why I feel you should always aim for the head on everything, even if you can comfortably one-shot body shot, because when you get half damage, then you might miss your breakpoint. So with that being said, let's do this. Oops. You need to get your crit. Since I'm out of combat, I do have slightly lower crit chance here because I don't have the crits on dodge. So I do need to aim down sights for a bit longer to get my surgical stacks. So yeah, there were some collateral shots there, but all enemies that aren't Ogryns, as far as I know, we can one-shot body shot, and then the Ogryns we can one-shot headshot. I've got some fireworks back there I thought would be cool to see. I don't know why I did that. I just noticed this guy standing. So let's look at the build. Now, I'm not going to talk about all the talents. I'm only going to talk about the ones that you should be aware of that impact your gameplay in other ways than just straight up damage, right? So Deadshot here, for example, is going to give you crit chance at the expense of stamina per seconds plus stamina per shot. So for that reason, we want to grab at least one stamina curio, and we also want stamina regen on all 3 of our curios. Something else that can be good here is to grab a block efficiency on top of the stamina regen. The stamina regen I would say is mandatory, but then block efficiency is an optional on top of that. It kind of depends on what you like to have there, so I'll let you decide with that part. But block efficiency is good because it means that, when we're running low on stamina because of something like Deadshot, we can still afford to get a full block in, even though we might be on really low stamina. So keep that in mind, and especially if you're going to be using a Devil's Claw sword, which has the parry ability, that also is considered a block, and so it allows you to use that a lot more if you've got block efficiency. Um, so that's Deadshot. Then Reciprocity is also giving us crit chance, and this is on dodge. It works for melee and it works for like range damage. So if I've got gunners or shooters firing at me and I'm dodging them, I'll get stacks of that buff. And if I've got enemies, behind me or on the sides and I dodge those attacks, I'll also get crit chance buffs from that. So, for this reason, you want to make sure that your revolver has a mobility roll that is high enough to still reach the dodge limit of 4, so that you can dodge with the gun out and maintain your crit chance, as high as possible. And so finally, for the crit chance stuff, we've got surgical here, and this is just crit chance while aiming down sights, and it stacks up to 100% crit chance, and you get one stack of 10% every 0.3 seconds. So that sounds like a long time, but let me show you what that looks like in practice. I'm going to reach 96% crit chance on every shot that I fire here, and you can just see the rate of fire. That's, I would say, more than fast enough, because remember, you need to be actually aiming at things in the heads, and that takes a little bit of time, and so 0.6 seconds is fine, it's plenty. That's 96% crit chance though, so I'll demonstrate now what 100% crit chance would look like. So it's slower, but that's still, I would say, fast enough for most stuff, but although I agree that is starting to get a little bit slow. Now, the reason we reach 96% is if we look at our stats, our base here is 26, and then we get 50 from both of those. And then, we need to get 2 stacks of surgical, which is 0.6 seconds of stacking. So that's that for the crit chance buffs. Now let's talk about straight up damage. So the simple part of that is going to be Executioner's Stance. This is giving you a 5-second buff when you use your combat ability, and that buff will give you 25% range damage, plus an additional 25% ranged weak spot damage. And so this buff allows us to hit our one-shot kill breakpoints when we merge it with some other stuff we'll talk about later. It also highlights, enemies, and when you kill an enemy that's highlighted, since we're grabbing Relentless, that will refresh the duration of the buff. So really what this means is as long as you kill a highlighted enemy at least every 5 seconds, this buff will last forever. And as soon as you go 5 seconds straight without killing a single highlighted enemy, you'll lose the buff. The cooldown, though, will be ticking away while the buff is up. So if you can manage to keep this up for like 20 seconds, you'll effectively only have a 15-second downtime. However, we are grabbing tactical awareness here. So if you were to kill specials, you'll get a 6 seconds reduction to your cooldown, and specials are going to be highlighted. So as long as you prioritize specials, you'll basically have no cooldowns on the stance. Obviously, sometimes you still do, but you can have very good uptime with this. And so, if you play it well, it is, really strong. And since all our shots are one-shot kills, it's very easy to maintain it as well, right? The only problem with any of this is your reload time, right? You need to reload your gun, and there's, a time involvement there. And then, you know, as you go for your kill after a reload, you might not have time to guarantee a crit, and if you don't guarantee a crit, you might not have a one-shot kill, right? So for that reason, when you come out of the stance, I recommend focusing on a lower health highlighted enemy to get the ball rolling again. Something else you can do is you could grab Volley Adept for better reload speed. It will make that a little bit easier to maintain. One way you could do that is by removing Rending Strikes, and also you could remove this, or I wouldn't remove that one. You could remove Rending Strikes and grab Longshot, and then we could move these 3 points to like these 3, right? I'm not going to do that now because it's a ball ache to move these points around, but you get the idea. It means that instead of confirmed kill, you would have to rely on exhilarating takedown for your toughness regen, which is still very good, right? And so that would work. But I'm going to grab Rending because I'm happy with this for now. And so that's it for the stance. Obviously, this also means on your revolver you want high reload speed. And so then looking at the last part of this, focus target. Now, this is a bit confusing, but the way it works is we get a stacking buff, and it stacks all the way up to 8 because we have focused fire. And when we target an enemy, this buff will be consumed, and it will apply a debuff to the enemy um, based on the number of stacks we had when we targeted it. So if we have 8 stacks, the enemy will receive 32% more damage from all sources because of the debuff we apply. It's going to be 4% per stack. And when we kill that targeted enemy, we're going to receive a buff because we grabbed redirect fire, and this will give us a 1.5% damage buff to ourselves per stack. So with 8 stacks, we'll get a 12% damage buff. The whole team benefits from this, and that buff lasts for 10 seconds. Now, you can refresh the buff. All you need to do is tag an enemy and kill it. You don't need to apply another 8 stacks. You can apply 0 stacks. You just need to kill a targeted enemy, and it will fully refresh the buff with 8 stacks or whatever stacks you already had. Um, and so that's it. And this is the buff that we really are after here. The reason we grab Focused Fire is so that we can get 8 stacks of Redirect Fire, which gives us 12% damage. If we don't do it this way, we don't get the breakpoint. So if we remove that, for example, on a lower roll in particular on your revolver, you'll start to miss breakpoints. Technically, I don't need these 2 points, although I do find some issues with consistency when I don't. Part of that is probably because I didn't go for fire team here. I could bridge that gap by going for fire team, but I think this is a better build overall. I just do this for guaranteed consistency. Um, so yeah, that is the build, and I think I'll leave it there. If you have any questions, just leave a comment. I think, sorry, I do a pretty good job of answering questions. And yeah, the only shitty part of this is getting the revolver because you do need a really strong roll to get the guaranteed one-shot kills. Um, you don't need something as good as this, but you do need it to be not bad. So that's it. I'll stop rambling, and thanks for watching.